The key turned in the lock, the familiar click echoing through the silent house like a starting pistol. I held my breath, the whiskey sour in my stomach curdling into something bitter. The door swung open, and there she was, Gabriella, bathed in the warm glow of the porch light, a smile plastered across her face so bright it almost hurt to look at. A smile that wasn't for me. That smile faltered, then fractured, replaced by an expression of bewilderment as her eyes landed on the stacked moving boxes in the hallway. Her gaze darted from box to box, the color draining from her face until she was as pale as the moonlight filtering through the living room window. Her legs buckled, and she crumpled to the floor like a marionette whose strings had been cut. What is this?" she stammered, her voice barely a whisper. I took a slow sip of my whiskey, the burn a welcome distraction from the icy knot in my chest. "What does it look like, Gabriella?" She scrambled to her feet, her eyes wide with a dawning horror. You're leaving." "No," I said, my voice flat. "You are." The blood rushed back to her face, staining her cheeks a furious crimson. "How dare you? After everything I've done for you, after all these years." I let out a short, harsh laugh. "Everything you've done for me? Is that what we're calling it now?" Sneaking around behind my back, lying to my face, whispering sweet nothings into another man's ear. Her defiance withered under my gaze. It just happened," she whispered, her voice trembling. "It didn't mean anything. Didn't mean anything," I repeated, the words dripping with sarcasm. "Then why did you do it, Gabriella? Why?" She opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out. She just stood there, her eyes glistening with unshed tears, the picture of guilt. And for a fleeting moment, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost, but then I remembered the sleepless nights, the gnawing suspicion, the gut-wrenching certainty that the woman I loved was betraying me. I remembered the way my heart shattered into a million pieces when I finally confirmed my fears. And the pity vanished, replaced by a cold, hard resolve. "I know everything, Gabriella," I said, my voice low and steady. "I know about Leonardo." The name hung in the air like a thunderclap. She flinched, her eyes darting around as if searching for an escape. "I know about the late-night meetings, the whispered phone calls, the weekends away, visiting your sister," I continued, my voice rising with each word. "I know about the cheap motel on the edge of town, the one with the flickering neon sign and the paper-thin walls. I heard everything, Gabriella. Everything." Her face crumpled, the carefully constructed mask of composure shattering into 1,000 pieces. She sank back to the floor, sobbing uncontrollably. "Please," she begged, her voice choked with tears. "Please don't do this. I'll do anything. I'll change. I promise." I looked down at her, the woman I had once loved, now a broken, pathetic mess at my feet. And I felt nothing. "It's too late, Gabriella," I said, my voice devoid of emotion. "The movers will be here in the morning. Everything you own is in those boxes. You have until then to be gone." She looked up at me, her eyes pleading. "Where will I go?" "I don't care," I said, turning away. "Just go." I spent the rest of the night packing the last of my belongings, my movements mechanical, my mind numb. I didn't sleep. I couldn't. The image of Gabriella's shattered face, the sound of her desperate pleas, echoed in my mind, a constant reminder of the wreckage of our marriage. The next morning, the movers arrived, their heavy footsteps shaking the house. I watched as they loaded box after box onto the truck, each one a symbol of the life we had built together, a life that was now gone. Gabriella was gone too. She had left some time during the night, leaving behind only a hastily scribbled note on the kitchen counter. "I'm sorry," it read. 2 words that meant nothing. Once the movers were gone, the house felt eerily empty. I walked through the silent rooms, the ghosts of our past clinging to the walls. I stopped in the bedroom, the place where we had shared so many memories, both good and bad. And then, I did something I hadn't planned on doing. I picked up the phone and dialed Leonardo's number. His voice, smooth and confident, grated on my nerves. "Hello, Leonardo," I said, my voice tight with barely suppressed rage. "It's David, Gabriella's husband." There was a moment of silence, then a nervous chuckle. "David, is everything all right?" "No, Leonardo," I said, my voice rising. "Nothing is all right. You see, my wife just left me." She packed her bags and walked out the door, leaving me with nothing but a broken heart and a mountain of moving boxes. I don't know what to say," Leonardo stammered. "I do," I said, my voice dripping with venom. "I'm coming over." And when I get there, I'm going to break your goddamn face. The drive to Leonardo's apartment was a blur of anger and adrenaline. I parked the car haphazardly, barely registering the screech of tires against the pavement. I stormed up the stairs, my heart pounding in my chest, my fists clenched tight. I didn't bother knocking. I kicked the door open, the force of the impact sending it crashing against the wall. Leonardo stood there, frozen in the middle of the living room, his face a mixture of shock and fear. He was dressed in a silk robe, his hair disheveled, the remnants of a leisurely morning evident in the scattered newspapers and half-eaten breakfast on the coffee table. He began, his voice trembling. I didn't let him finish. I lunged at him, my fist connecting with his jaw with a sickening crunch. He staggered backward, tripping over the coffee table and crashing to the floor. I followed him down, raining blows on his face and chest. He tried to fight back, but he was no match for my rage. I pounded him until he was a whimpering mess, his face bruised and bloody, his robe torn and disheveled. I stood over him, panting, my knuckles raw and bleeding. "This is for my wife," I snarled. "And this is for me." I turned and walked out, leaving him sprawled on the floor, a broken man in a broken apartment. I knew that violence wasn't the answer. I knew that it wouldn't bring Gabriella back, or erase the pain she had caused. But in that moment, it was the only thing that could silence the demons that were tearing me apart. Later that day, I received a call from Leonardo's wife. Her voice, cold and hard, sent a shiver down my spine. "He told me everything," she said. "Don't worry, I'll take care of him." I could hear the venom in her voice, the same venom that had been coursing through my veins just hours before. And in a strange way, I felt a sense of grim satisfaction. The following weeks were a blur of packing, selling the house, and saying goodbye to the life I had known. It was painful, but it was also liberating. I was free from Gabriella, free from the lies and the betrayal, free to start over. I moved to a new city, a new state, a new life. I found a new job, new friends, and eventually, a new love. It wasn't easy, but I learned to trust again, to love again, to live again. The memory of Gabriella, of the betrayal and the pain, would always be a part of me. But it no longer defined me. I had moved on. I had survived. And in the end, that was all that mattered.